Hi, everyone. I'm Sunshine Jackson. Thank you so much for joining me for the Sunshine Sessions podcast. Well, it's 2 days after election, and I chose not to go live during the election. I knew it would be pretty intense, and 2 days after, it's still kind of intense for a lot of people, including myself. And let me tell you all this. Excuse me. It's been emotional. I've seen a lot of perspectives from different sides, and it's pretty divisive, and it's intense. And I do want to send a heartfelt I love you to Black women, and let me tell you why. I think so often Black women are expected to do the right thing for so many people when so many people don't show up for Black women. And this is not a woe is me type thing. I'm just speaking from the lived experience, okay? What I'm saying to you all, don't conflate that with me thinking that Black men didn't show up for us, because I heard some talk of that. The numbers say otherwise. So we don't even have to feed into that narrative. Black men showed up, Black women showed up, and both groups showed out on behalf of the greater good, or what we thought would be the greater good for the country. Um, White women and a lot of Hispanics did not show up. And if you are one of the white women who did and one of the Hispanics who did, then if it doesn't apply, let it fly. You already know that I'm not talking about you. And this video is not about blame. This is just commentary on the results of a very important election. I've had many a conversation or many a exchange with people over the past couple of days. There are a lot of people who are celebrating Trump's win, which is interesting to me, because the main people that I see celebrating are people who don't really fit the group that tends to be his main concern. What I mean by that is I have seen some, not many, not as many as who voted blue, of course. I've seen some Black men celebrating for the win of Trump. I've seen quite a few Hispanics celebrating. Some Black women celebrating, and unsurprisingly, white men and women celebrating. Okay, and when I say not surprisingly, because I get why they want Trump. That's clear. So for all of the people who were saying, "Oh, it's the economy," not from the Caucasian perspective. The economy had very little to do with the overall picture of why Donald Trump is the president-elect. Another thing, this is not a video that is shaming anyone about their voting choice, because this is what I say. You have the right to vote for whom you please, but so do I. And I also have the right to express why I did that. Not that I owe anyone an explanation, but in my mind, In my mind, the choice was clear. Now, there was a lot of talk about Kamala Harris not being qualified to run the country. She was the only candidate who has experience at the legislative, judicial, and executive branches. I don't think there is anyone more qualified in the race, to be honest with you. Do I agree with everything she says? Of course not. But that's not a requirement for me to see the overall picture. Do you understand what I mean? There was a lot of talk about how she wasn't qualified and how she hasn't really laid out a plan or said what she is going to do for America. What I find interesting about that is that was only required of her as a black woman, and for those of you who feel that she's not black, for a woman of color, okay? Whatever. It's funny that she was held to that standard, but all the candidate who is a convicted felon multiple times over, who was impeached during his first term in office, who has been problematic in his approach to policy and the way he has treated people and spoken to people, and who has even been found guilty in a court of law of SAing a woman. It's interesting to me that he did not have to meet the standard. All he had to do was show up. And people who support him tend to believe he is beyond reproach. He's your candidate, whatever. I just found that double standard very interesting. Another thing I find interesting is, as I stated, the women who are celebrating his win based on his policy and his plan as it concerns to women. This brings me back to the black woman topic. Black women tend to, again, show up for the greater good of everyone and don't get that in return. And I liken it to, well, let me say this before I say that. The numbers are out. White women overwhelmingly assisted in putting Donald Trump in office. The reason that boggles my brain is, if you all think back to his first term, there was the Women's March on Washington, right? Do y'all remember? So overwhelmingly, white women helped him get elected the first time, and then found him to be problematic, so decided to do a march on Washington where they wanted all women included. No, thank you. I think that's asinine. That makes absolutely no sense. This is the man you helped put into office. Why would you then have this march on Washington to protest him? There will probably be more of that, but what I was going to say about black women is black women show up for everyone. And when there is a call for assistance, crickets. When there is an issue that directly affects black women, crickets from white women, overwhelmingly. So it's interesting to me, there's this celebration of women who will vote in the interest of, dare I say, white supremacy, which allows them to keep what they feel is a certain position. And honestly, it is a certain position in society, will vote to keep that, even if it means voting against their interest as women. Women who can make their own choices, women who have autonomy about things, which will bring me to my next subject. Everyone use this politicized term, abortion. You heard that thrown out there. We were talking reproductive rights, but people made a point, particularly Republicans, to use the terms murdering babies, babies, unaliving babies, unaliving babies. That type of play on words to resonate with people's fears and prejudices played a big role in this election. Reproductive rights are not about unaliving babies. It's about protecting the people who birth babies. It is difficult for me to believe that you are pro life if you don't give a damn about the people who carry and produce life. How do you expect me to believe that you care about the future of the country if you don't care about the very people who can have babies? Interesting, terrible, sad, pitiful to see women celebrating their rights being taken away. I've never seen anything like that, ever. Which brings me to my next topic, Project 2025. Now, there are people who are commenting on different platforms saying that people on the left are being brainwashed, Democrats are being brainwashed. Project 2025 is not real. Donald Trump has nothing to do with it. It's about the Heritage Foundation, which is non political. Donald Trump has already stated that Tom Homan will have a place in his administration. He said that before he won. He said if he wins the election and becomes president, Tom Homan would have a place in his administration. So for those of you who don't know who Tom Homan is, number one, Homan served in Trump's administration during, I think, from 2017 to 2019. Do y'all, I'm sorry, 2017 to 2018. He was actually the acting director of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. 2017 to 2018, Thomas Homan, Homan. You all may remember that there was this big controversy about uh, families being separated at the border. They were detained, the cages, remember? Thomas Homan was the director at the time. He also worked for the Heritage Foundation. And he is one of the contributors, one of the co authors of Project 2025. So now you really expect us to believe that Donald Trump does not know anything about Project 25 or doesn't have anything to do with Project 2025? Thomas Homan, the man who has gone on record as saying, and I am quoting, Quote, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the family separation. I'm still being sued over that. I don't give a shit. Close quote. But you think Donald Trump doesn't know anything about Project 2025? Project 2025, and let me just give you a few points about that. It's available for you to read for those of you who are saying there's no agenda, no Republican or conservative agenda. That's exactly what it is. Project 2025 is the conservative agenda for the the Republican administration. What it's going to do is it's going to aim to remove just a few things here. Aim to remove civil service employment protections from thousands of federal employees. So basically, they can be fired and replaced with Republican loyalists. Eliminate the Department of Education. They're going to lower corporation tax. They're going to end the Affordable Care Act. Not surprising because we know how he hates President Obama. They're going to aim to reduce the scope of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And of course, remove diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring policies from federal programs, which has already taken place. Also, of course, we're here. Roe v. Wade has been overturned because Donald Trump, during his first term, appointed conservative justices to the Supreme Court. Think about what happens. The Supreme Court, overwhelmingly conservative and MAGA enthusiasts, Donald Trump followers. If they control the Republicans, the Senate, a Republican administration, it's all lining up for Project 2025 for people who don't think it's real. Now, again, I voted Democrat. I voted blue. I did vote for Kamala. Not because I thought she was perfect, but she doesn't have to be. I voted for Kamala because she was the alternative to what is about to take place. You can celebrate if you want, but the people who are celebrating are not the people that the MAGA group is talking about when they say, make America great again. They're not talking about you. They're not talking about the poor, the uneducated. They're actually not talking about women. It doesn't matter if you're white, unless you happen to be one of those white women who is somehow tied to that 1%, those elites. Dear black men, for those of you who are shaming black women for voting for Kamala because you feel like abortion was the main reason that we did that, when these Republicans, these conservatives are talking about saving babies, they're not talking about little black ones. They're speaking specifically of white babies. If white women were not getting abortions, if only black women were getting abortions and unaliving babies, as you all say, Roe v. Wade would not have been overturned, because the very people who you're celebrating and put into office don't give a shit about your black life or those black babies' lives. None of them are really pro-life, because if they were, they wouldn't in turn be cutting funding for Head Start programs, free lunch programs, daycare, and health care for children and mothers. How are you pro-life and you don't want to contribute to the lives of these children that you now want to force these women to have? Again, I don't have the right to tell anyone for whom they should vote. I'm just laying it out for you. People asked or challenged my reasons for voting for Kamala. I'm telling you why I did. Her policies, her agenda for America was more in line with more equal opportunity for Americans, not just people of a certain ilk or caste or status. It amazes me the cult-like mentality of the Trump supporters, the unmitigated gall, well, not even gall. I don't think it's gall, but the lunacy of you to think that while he is sitting at his country club in Mar-a-Lago, the club who some of you who voted for him cannot even attend or enter as guests or members, the fact that you think that he's talking about you when he's talking about making America great again, it is lunacy. Sheer lunacy. Some of you found every reason you could to not vote for Kamala. At first, she's locked up thousands of black men. That was debunked. And some of you still ran with that narrative. She wants the world to be transgender. She does not. But some of you still ran with that narrative. You said everything except I'm a bigot. I want to preserve white supremacy. You said everything but I don't want a black woman or a woman of color as my president. You said everything except I don't think a woman should be president. All of these excuses to not vote for the more qualified candidate. You would rather a convicted felon who has insulted every group of people to be your president rather than the more qualified black woman or woman of color. The mere fact that some of you relate, or I should say associate, bullying, buffoonery, recklessness, and insensitivity with masculinity is troubling. It's troubling. It's troubling. From here on out, black women, I want you to burn the cape. 2025, don't do it. When people other than black women need your assistance, don't show up. Don't show up. One thing I forgot to mention about Project 2025 is blanket immunity for police officers, black men. And again, I know the majority of you voted for Kamala. Thank you. We're proud of you. We know what you did. We appreciate you. So I don't want to come across as if I'm blaming black men for this. Again, I'm not. We've seen the numbers. We know who ushered him right into the White House, and we're not surprised by that. But the fact that some of you voted for the man who wants to give police blanket immunity, like you don't know who that's going to disproportionately target. Black women, stand down. Repurpose that cape. Use it as a Christmas tree skirt. Take that cape off. Use it as a tablecloth. The kitty table at your holiday function. Take that cape off. Use it to cover your flowers in extremely cold weather. Repurpose it, ladies. Not in 2025. This is what America wanted. Let them burn. It's unfortunate that we have to be here to witness it and be affected, but this is what America wanted. This man came out and told a certain group of people, I'll say it, Puerto Ricans, that their island was trash. Well, he didn't, but the comedian at his event did. And for those of you who said Trump didn't have anything to do with it, he didn't know it, Trump has his hands in everything that had to do with his campaign and his rallies. Stop it. You all know who this man is. Google it. The fact that that was a thing and Puerto Rican said, well, I'm voting for him anyway. Hey, far be it from me to defend people who are okay with being insulted. That's not my job. Black women, don't show up. This is what America wanted. Again, this is after the election. These are just my feelings. I have the right to express them. I have the right to vote the way I choose, just like you all did who voted for Trump. He won. Congratulations. This is what you wanted. I'm not a stranger to adversity. I will be okay. So will we. All of us. But I think the ones who voted for Trump thinking that they're somehow going to be saved, that the economy is going to be better. Inflation is 2.4%, by the way. I had to explain to someone who told me that I was going on about nothing and that I should move that decimal over to the right because he was still paying a lot for groceries and $5 for gas. I had to explain to him that just because inflation decreases does not mean that prices do. It's a process. That's not how things work. Just like that economy that you all thought was so great under Trump's first term was the economy that he inherited from the Obama administration. He walked into that, people, just like he walked out and left a mess for Joe Biden. Inflation. Let's talk about all the things that contributed to inflation. COVID-19, anyone? And of course, COVID was not Donald Trump's fault, but he did dismantle the task force that handles response to pandemics, all because he can't stand President Obama. Let's call a thing a thing. So you all want to talk about the economy? Let's talk about it all. Black people, not people of color. I'm talking specifically to black people. And well, let me say this. People of color, biracial people who identify as black, I don't tell people how to identify. If you identify as black, fine. If you don't identify as black, that's okay. Biracial is a thing, and it's okay. Trust me. So I'm not telling anybody how to identify. All I am saying is moving forward, black people, let's just focus on being each other's support system. How about that? It's been tough. I want to give black women a hug. I want to say thank you for black men and other men. There have been some white men who have acknowledged the hurt that black women are feeling because of the overall message that we have received from America once again. Thank you all for acknowledging that. Again, black women, no more saving. No more saving. There was a video that was circulating about a guy who was Asiatic Indian, but he was saying how he was told that when in trouble, find a black woman. Don't find us, please. Not when you're in trouble. Don't find us for mothering. Don't find us for pep talks. Don't find us for support. Don't do that. Don't find us for mothering. Call your own mama. Don't find us for pep talks. Pop in or download an inspirational speech or something like that. Don't call us for support. Lift yourself up. We're done. We're done. Black women, let's be done. Finally, I want to leave you all with this video. Now, this is something that I saw on Instagram, and it's a resounding message. Some people said it was too late. The message was too late. I don't think so. I know that the message won't change the election results, but I think the message is a very clear one. And what this message does is hold a mirror to the face of black people, people of color who voted for Trump. I want to leave you with this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can share your comments down below. Just please be respectful. We welcome different opinions here. We don't have to agree. These are my feelings, okay? These are just my feelings. I've been a little frustrated, a little hurt for the past 2 days. Some people say sore loser. I wouldn't say so. I would just say concerned about where things are going to go, but not a sore loser. After all, I won't be a part of a group that would storm the Capitol. I'm Sunshine Jackson. Thank you for watching the Sunshine Sessions podcast. I'll leave you with this video. Thank you.
Go into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If you were to deport all illegal immigrants, if you were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider it, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian
achieved?
people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?